Yo, 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 what's up? This is Gary A. Swaby, and you're now listening to episode 9 of the Powercast. And I'm here with Richard Bailey. What's up, Rich?
Yes, what's up, listeners and viewers, and how's it going, Gary?
It's going good, man. That was an interesting episode of Power that just aired in the US. We already saw the episode prior to it airing. So, we got lots to talk about. I took a lot of notes. So, I'm going to get straight to the recap. And then, hopefully we can get into our discussion right after that.
Yes.
So, let's do it. So, the show opens up with Jamie and Tommy talking about Ruiz, and Jamie actually tries to convince Tommy that Ruiz is back in the game fully, and he's not playing around, and he's not going to snitch on them and stuff like that. Tommy admits to being at Milan's hideout the night before, and there's actually a flashback scene showing what happens. And Milan basically refers to Tommy as his new apprentice, pretty much. I don't think Jamie knows that part, but he does. Tommy does admit that he was at Milan's hideout and that he did skip Jamie's call when he tried to call him. And then we see Angela at the office. She's got the phone from Hugo, and she texts the number that's in Hugo's phone, and that's obviously Sandoval's phone number. And he actually calls back while he's in the office, and there's a really weird scene where they both hear the helicopter that's outside and stuff, like over the phone and everything like that. So yeah, it's a very intense scene right there. And then we see Greg, who's snooping around at Tommy's mom's place, and he actually finds Angela's card. And later we see Tasha actually getting a call from Tommy. I mean, not Tommy, sorry, from a friend, and her friend is asking about Keisha. And Tasha basically starts texting Keisha to try and find her, try and locate her because she's gone missing, basically. Tommy tries to collect money from Ruiz, but Ruiz refuses to give the full amount for the new product unless he gets a meeting with Milan. And later, Angela learns that someone from the outside actually tried to search for Lobos's location. So the investigation is now focused on figuring out why that person tried to locate Lobos outside of, the investigation and stuff. And that might actually make the investigation go away from the task force itself. And then, there's a scene later on where she's actually talking to Jamie about this, and Jamie kind of alludes to the fact that it was Proctor who did the searching, basically. And then we see Cantos, a returning character, coming back, and he visits Jamie at his office, and he reveals that he's working with the rival club from across the street, and he tries to bribe Jamie into giving him the guest list. And his bribe is basically that he can talk about Jamie, what he does, and everything that he's done with the club, and I guess even beyond that, because Cantos probably knows a lot of dirt as well. So yeah, he threatens to talk, and then Jamie um, says that he'll get him the guest list eventually. And then we see Jamie later on call Julio about planting drugs in the rival club, which comes into play later on. While Angela is asleep in Greg's room, Greg wakes up and goes to basically search her bag, and he finds the phone, and he takes a picture of the serial number on the phone. And then Milan tells Tommy that he's holding Tommy responsible for all of Ghost's actions because he actually knows that Jamie was following Tommy to the hideout and stuff like that. So he basically warns Tommy that he needs to get Jamie in line, otherwise he's gonna hold him accountable for Jamie's actions. And then later on, Tommy actually confronts Jamie about following Milan, and he reminds him that he chose Jamie over Holly, and he warns Jamie that he's got to choose him over himself now. So, yeah, he basically tells him to stop trying to get out of, Milan's hold that he's got on them. And he, basically he wants Jamie to help him because, obviously Milan is going to hold him accountable for Jamie's actions. And during this same conversation, Jamie urges Tommy to try and set up a meeting between Ruiz and Milan. And, he does that after he promises to put Tommy first as well. So that's interesting. And then we see Dre meeting up with Kanan. And Kanan makes clear that he's staying away from the drug game until the Milan situation is handled. But then, he kind of mocks Andre a little bit, saying that, oh, you can't run and tell Ghost what's going on because, he's going to question you and everything like that. So, yeah, he's basically pretty foul to Dre in this scene. And then we see Greg stalking Ruiz in a restroom, which I found funny. And he gives him a button recorder to use in his meeting with Milan. But Greg also tells him to make sure he brings up Jamie's name in the meeting because he wants to incriminate Jamie. And later we see Andre approaching Tommy, and he asks him to look out for Tariq. And Andre actually reveals to him that he was the one who made the call to save Tommy when the Koreans wanted to kill him. And then we see Jamie giving a talk at the kids' careers day at their school. And as the other children ask him about the club, we see Tariq texting Kanan, and he's asking to meet up with him later. And during this whole talk, Tasha is actually feeling really touched about Jamie's speech because he's talking about the family and the sacrifices he makes and stuff like that. Ruiz calls Jamie and tells him about Greg and everything that happened, and Jamie tells him to make sure that he doesn't mention his name on the tape. And Ruiz expresses concern about Tommy not being in on the plan. Kanan takes Tariq to the sneaker store, and he encourages Tariq to actually steal some sneakers, which is interesting. And while Jamie is delivering the guest list to Cantos at the rival club, police swarm in and find all the drugs that are stashed there. And Jamie then invites Karen to come to, one of his upcoming parties and stuff. So, yeah, that's Ghost being Ghost for you. Ruiz meets up with Milan, and he's searched by Tommy as he enters, the building and everything. Jamie and Tasha talk, and they end up sleeping together. And after after the business is done, Jamie actually tells Tasha about the plan with Ruiz, but she's not really feeling the plan. She gets him to leave, and then she immediately calls Tommy and lets him know what's going on with Ruiz. And then Tommy offers to give Ruiz a ride home after the meeting. And on the ride home, Tommy's ranting the whole time about Ghost. And then the car starts to stutter a little bit, and Tommy gets out. He checks the bonnet, and then he asks Ruiz to hand him the flashlight or whatever. And then he stabs Ruiz, and he stabs him to death. And then Andre pulls up to help Tommy drag the body to the other car. And then shortly thereafter, we see Sandoval learning that Hugo's body was found. And Sandoval actually takes it upon himself to go to Hugo's apartment to recover anything that will trace back to him. But as he's leaving the building, as he's leaving the apartment, Greg is actually watching from his car. So, he puts two and two together in this moment. And then we see Tommy waiting for Jamie at the club, and he confesses to stabbing Ruiz. And Tommy presses Jamie about lying to him again. And, Jamie basically pleads to him, and he admits that he's never going to stop until he's out. And, he basically tries to let Tommy know the advantage of getting rid of Milan, like how it could be better for him because he could basically run the drug game and everything like that. He tries to persuade Tommy, and Tommy simply says no. And then he walks off. But as he's leaving, he stops and he looks back at Ghost, and he says, Ghost, if we're going to do this, kill Milan, I call the shots. I'll come up with the plan, and I'll call you in the morning, basically. He said it with a lot more conviction than I just did, but yeah, that's what he said. And then immediately thereafter, Tommy goes back to Milan's hideout, and he basically says, it's time, we need to kill Ghost. And that's how the show ends. So yeah, very eventful episode right there. Lots of little nuggets to dissect, and it leads up to what will likely be an interesting finale. But Richard, what's on your mind immediately after seeing all of that?
All right. So first and foremost, allow me to say that the Starz writing team, absolutely fantastic. They really made this season. This episode in particular is a guessing game of who can you trust. Now, as far as the situation with Tommy, um, we know that Tommy was originally working with Lobos, and how he turned on Lobos in that same episode that Lobos got killed. So I definitely would be concerned for what is going to happen with the next episode, because he could do the same thing to Ghost. Ghost has given him reason to now think that you can't be trusted, because he lied to Tommy on two occasions, multiple occasions, because we've seen in past seasons where he lied to Tommy or didn't tell him all the information about something. And Tommy didn't find out some of those times, but now he has found out in two instances that, yeah, Ghost is lying. I think the most important thing about that episode was that conversation they had towards the end, where Ghost said, I'm not going to stop until I'm out, because that to me is already setting up what's going to happen in the next season and from here on out. I really don't think it's going to be a situation where Ghost is going to get out the next episode, obviously, and that will be a struggle that continues well into next season. But I do think that Tommy, this is a character that has definitely gone through a metamorphosis, if you will. You saw from the beginning of when this show first started. He was tight with his boy Ghost, still had a violent side, still had a temper, but now that character is being put to the test in bigger ways now, because he obviously doesn't trust Ghost, and it's really going to come down to a point of whether or not he trusts Ghost or Milan. Now, obviously, he could pull. We can all be surprised next week if he decides to turn on Milan, but I don't really know if that's going to happen now, because I think the writers have done a great job telling you he can go either way. So we'll have to see. The one thing I will say is, the part where he said that he chose Jamie over Holly. I don't think that's accurate at all, because Tommy is the one that killed Holly. So I don't even know why he would even say that. I mean, it was no choice there.
I think, yeah. I mean, I think it's the way it's worded, because he didn't exactly choose Jamie, but Jamie was a lot of the reason why he, attacked Holly in the first place, because she tried to put a hit on him and stuff like that.
That makes sense. That explanation makes sense. But still, he couldn't control his emotions. He was the one that choked her out. I mean, that's all because he didn't. I mean, it's not really Ghost's fault, because he made the choice to take it that far. If he wanted to hit her, and I don't condone violence against women. If you wanted to, I don't mean he could have. I mean, he could have. He just could have dealt with the situation differently rather than kill her. But he couldn't control himself, so that's what happened. But yeah, you're right. That makes sense now when you put it in that context.
Yeah, it's just he worded it a bit funny, I guess, because there wasn't actually a choice, but it's like, he did that for Jamie, pretty much. But you said something. You said it's set up so that Tommy could go either way in the next episode, and I completely agree with that. It was very well set up, because now we got to figure out who Tommy's lying to. Like, who is he lying to? Because he's either lying to Ghost or he's lying to Milan. Like, which one is he playing? He's playing one of those people. So that's an interesting dynamic. And I think we're seeing a real change in Tommy as well. Like, because usually he needs direction. Like, he's not very good on his own. But it's like now he's like calculated and he's devising his own plans. And that's a real evolution for his character.
Exactly. And if you recall earlier in the season, when he had struggles with trying to kill Ghosts, I remember he went to try to get some counsel from the church, and pretty much it's talked about while his whole life he never felt like he was a leader. He was always a follower of people. They would say, you can't do this, and then he wouldn't do it. or he just felt like he was a bit of an outcast. Now, yes, as you said, he's really coming into his own this season, and I don't really think he's intimidated by either Ghost or Milan anymore. Perhaps he was obviously a couple episodes when he had to fend for his life, but I think now he's confident because he knows that Milan needed him to get an idea as to how to sell these pills, this new drug, and also the fact that it's just like Tommy is a different character. You go back to how he killed Ruiz out of nowhere. Just killed this guy because he didn't want.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up too. Like, did he even need to kill Ruiz? Like that's a real out of character thing for Tommy, because it's just he made the decision. Like, he made that decision. There was no pressure on him to do it. Nothing. He just decided to do that on his own, and we haven't really seen that from him before. So
that's true.
That was really interesting that he made that decision to just kill Ruiz, and he actually called Andre to help him. So that was interesting.
That too, and let's get into that right now also, because we know that Andre is another character where you don't really know which direction he'll go. Now, obviously, he's working with Kanan. He promises to be loyal to Kanan, but there's still some resistance there. But we don't know. Once say they do take out Milan, and Kanan already said he wants to get back in the drug game, but after Milan is out the picture. So when Milan is out the picture, is Dre going to work with Tommy, or is he going to turn on Tommy now that he has the assistance of Kanan to take out Tommy and take over? Because you see, what the thing is this, what they are setting up is Milan has already considered Tommy his successor. And so Tommy is thinking that by him being involved, he's the one that wants all the power, all the control of the drug game. So he would take over everything. But see, now you have Kanan, who also wants that, and has Dre also now, who has an integral part in all of this. So it's going to be interesting to see which side it is that Dre ultimately falls on. I think that he definitely feels a little bit of sympathy towards what's going on with Ghost's son, but I think that obviously when it comes down to the current situation now, I guess he's going to do whatever he has to do just to protect his family. He doesn't want his daughter to be threatened, so I think that he will fall in line and still work with Kanan. But it's going to be interesting to see how that whole dynamic comes together, because I really don't think that Tommy is somebody who would play second fiddle to Kanan at this point. So that is going to be a power struggle between both of those characters when it comes time, and Milan is out the picture for somebody to take over. So I'm very interested to see how they handle that, because they're building up to that.
Yeah, and it's still really tricky to understand what Andre's motives are, because we see him, tell Tommy to look out for Tariq. And, in that moment, I was thinking, okay, so he's trying to play Tommy against Kanan. Like, he wants Tommy to find out that Kanan is back and on his own without telling him, pretty much. Like, that's what he's trying to do. But at the same time, when he's around Kanan, he's obedient. Like, he's doing whatever Kanan wants. So it's like, it's really hard to tell what his motivation is and what he's trying to achieve or accomplish sometimes. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting dynamic. Now that those two have a bond, Tommy and Andre, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens there, because that opens up, a lot of possibilities on it in itself.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So let's talk about Angela. I'm gonna just say this right now. I think that the last episode that I saw, I was not happy with that character. How she just decided to, just sleep with the same guy you got a restraining order against, and you think that there won't be any actions taken. I still, it is a bit tragic in a sense to see a character that she feels so confident that she could trust Greg. But Greg ain't out for. I mean, he getting his from her, obviously, but he also playing the game as well. And I would have thought that I mean, I don't know how good he is at what he does with the snooping around. I would have thought, I would think that if somebody has a bag, a woman has a bag, and your stuff is in your bag a certain way, that you would say, well, hold on, wait a minute, somebody been in my bag. But I guess Angela completely oblivious to all of that. Because I mean, she obviously is looking to protect herself. Maybe she thinks that if something is found on Ghost that could link them together, that maybe Greg will help her clear her name. But Greg obviously is out for himself, and to prove that I mean, he wants to take down whoever is behind this whole situation, but I think he also still wants to take down Angela also. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I will say this: I'm glad that he found out that Sandoval is involved in this. Of course, not a character that I would want to find out this information, because I think the character is annoying. But I'll be very interested to see what happens. I can tell you right now, though, I don't think it's going to end well for somebody next week, as far as that situation is concerned, because it seems like if he was to confront this guy may just panic and pull out a gun and shoot him. I mean, I don't think he would hesitate to do that at this point, because he's trying to protect himself. But then again, it depends on the situation, where they're at when this happens, that type of stuff. But I mean, I'm glad that Greg found out who was involved. I know Angela is working as well to figure out, but she's very slow in what she's doing because she's got too much going on now. You're thinking about Jamie, you're sleeping with this other guy. So it's unfortunate, but it's not going to end well. That's what I would say about that.
Yes, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that whole, Lobos investigation situation ends up. And with Angela, like, okay, I'm going to sound really shallow when I say this, but like, I was highly attracted to Angela, her character, and her physical appearance and everything throughout like this whole season. But like when I saw her in this episode with Greg and stuff, like for some reason, all that attraction just died. And like I was like, what are you doing, Angela? Like she's just lost and confused right now. And I think in this season in particular, when it comes to Jamie and Angela, I feel like those two characters really made each other this season. So like now that they're not together, they both seem kind of lost and confused, because Jamie's definitely not the same Jamie that we're used to, and Angela is definitely not the same Angela that we used to. So like it's like now they're separated. They're just both in this really confused stage like element, and it's really it's really awkward to see.
I mean, I let me just add to that briefly. I'm very disappointed that I figured the characters. You made this prediction several shows ago that she was probably going to get back with Greg, and that your boy Ghost was going to get back with Tasha. I'm very, very disappointed that she was the first one to just immediately jump back into something physical. Obviously, you're damaged, distraught about what happened with Ghost, the whole relationship issue. But I think that there could have been another way. Maybe she just could have been vindictive and just focused solely on taking him down. But because she is connected and potentially could also go down with him, I guess that makes her more vulnerable, which was why she wanted to seek the comfort of someone who she thinks she could trust. But she cannot trust this guy. And eventually, I think there is going to be a slip up with that, because I'm surprised it didn't happen in this episode. Because again, somebody's going through my stuff, I would know, wait, hold on, what the hell is this? So the fact that she didn't notice anything, or maybe it was something that we didn't see, at least from what we saw as viewers, is that's a little puzzling.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's just sad to see, man. Like sad to see, because I know it was a tactical move for Angela to go back to Greg and everything, because like you said, she's trying to protect herself and everything like that. But it's like she's getting played herself. Like she's trying to look out for herself, but she's getting played by Greg. And
oh no, exactly. Now the writers could always pull something out of their thinking caps and just make it seem as though she does something to give the impression that she was the one that was also playing all along. But I see no indication of that happening based on how she's been presented these last couple episodes. So I would have to believe, yeah, she's just straight up getting played, and that's unfortunate because it's just a very bad place for her to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they could pull that off, like with her trying to make a move, because like throughout this episode, we see her trying to do her own investigation to find out, you know, who Hugo was in contact with the phone, because she looks up the flight number that was on the text message and stuff, and she sees the credit card and she tries to trace that up, but it leads nowhere and stuff. So I mean, she's really focused on trying to find out who the leak is herself, you know. And I don't see how she could have time to play Greg or anything. I think she really is just doing that for tactical purposes to get him back on her side.
That's exactly what it is. Exactly.
Yeah. But let's talk about Tasha, because I'm really confused about Tasha. Like, you know, I know she ends up sleeping with Jamie again. And, you know, for a lot of people, I think that's going to be a great scene, because a lot of people wanted them to get back together, especially the ladies, I think, wanted to see them get back together. But the thing is, I'm unsure about Tasha right now. Like, is she working with Tommy? Because like earlier on in a previous episode, we see her call Tommy and leave a voicemail and say, oh, Jamie's up to something. And in this one, when Jamie tells her his plan with Ruiz, she immediately calls Tommy, like right away. So like, are they in cahoots? Are they like working together?
That's a very good question.
I'm also wondering if it's possible that Tommy told her that, you know, he was ordered to kill Keisha, and maybe he helped Keisha get away, and maybe Tasha knows that or something. Like, maybe they both mutually know something about Keisha's whereabouts. I'm not sure.
See. Here's the thing, though. That's a very good. These are very good questions to ask. But here's the thing, though. You know, if that's the case, Tasha's doing a very good job of acting worried and concerned about Keisha. And you know, I am of the mindset. You know, we obviously haven't seen a body yet, so we don't know what's going on with that situation. I do think Tommy definitely killed her or something to that extent, because I know that Milan was the one that ordered for them to handle that situation. So if something did happen to her, I'm gonna assume we'll find out in the next episode. But I just think that the situation with Tasha. Now, I wasn't aware that there were a lot of people that wanted to see her and Ghost get back together. I have to say this, and I hope that no one is offended by this. I find it a little ridiculous that we need to have sex in almost every episode. I mean, I understand that was a sentimental moment shared between a separated couple, husband and wife. So that's okay. But at the same time, you know, listen, the actress that played Tasha's fine. You know that the men wanted to see her in some capacity with a lot less clothes on. So that's what they got. So I feel as though they want to try to satisfy everybody. You know, this is why you see Ghost with the shirt off all, you know, a lot of times in the show. You know, they want to try to satisfy both the women and the men. I understand that. But I just think that, you know, it's a situation that, you know, I guess you got to have that in a show like this to really push it over the edge, make it, you know, edgy, that type of deal. But getting back to the whole situation with Trust and Tasha, I mean, yeah, I don't know where her role, where her loyalties lie at either. I mean, I don't know if Tommy ever told her what really happened to Holly. So I think it's a situation where she feels she could trust Tommy, but Tommy is going in a totally different direction now than where he was at the beginning of this season and previous seasons. So not really somebody who you can trust 100%. Very dangerous and reckless. But I think that the next episode, I mean, I think by her telling, you know, basically telling Tommy, making the phone call, I think that when she finds out that Ruiz got killed, that may make her look at Tommy a little bit differently. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we have to wait and see how that pans out. But
yeah, I mean, oh, good.
Oh no, go ahead, continue.
I was gonna say, I mean, I could be just looking into it too deep because I mean, they did kind of build a bond when, Tasha was bonding with Holly and they was, they was doing the money stuff, the accounting or whatever. I guess they could have really built a bond then. And, obviously Tasha's trust with Jamie was broken already. So maybe it's just that, she feels closer to Tommy at this present moment because
Yeah.
they built a bond and, Jamie was doing whatever he was doing with Angela. So it could just be that, like maybe she just feels more loyal to Tony I mean Tommy at this current moment. But at the same time, it's like you have to kind of look out for your husband in this situation because you got the kids and stuff like that. You got to think about finances and structure, family structure, and all that stuff. So I would expect some level of loyalty to Jamie in this situation as well, because she's got to look out for her children as well and the
Oh yeah.
family.
Well. That you're absolutely correct. My guess is that we'll get an answer to that the next episode. But also, definitely you feel sorry for Ghost because after he did spend his time with Tasha, you see that he just felt calm, relaxed. He felt like he was where he needed to be. And then she said, "Well, no, you got to get out of here. Why don't you go back to the club?"
Yeah,
So it's like,
he let his guard down and he let her in on the plan and everything. So it's like, yeah, he was feeling real like open with her.
so, yeah. So like you said, that could be something where she's playing him as well to get that information to find out. Oh, so this is what this guy is planning, and tell her Tommy. I mean, what you said is a very good point. We have to see, obviously, next week how that pans out. But I think it's anything goes now as far as that because I mean, she knows that Milan is there, that he's a threat to everything that they have in the family. So you would think that there's a big part of her that doesn't want to get involved. And then you saw even when she made the call to Tommy in this episode, after she made it, she had that look on her face like, oh, what did I just do or whatever. So I think we'll get an answer to that next week. But I think once she finds out that Ruiz was killed and that Tommy had something to do with that, that definitely is going to make her look at Tommy a little bit differently because I don't think she would have imagined that he was going to react in that way in terms of, getting Ruiz out the picture. So we have to see how that comes together.
Yep, definitely. So yeah, there's lots of other things to talk about. I'm gonna go to the club before we get to Kanan. So the club, yeah, so a lot happens. I mean, Cantos comes back. You kind of alluded to the fact that he'll probably come back eventually, and now
Yeah.
he's back. He's managing the other club, the rival club, and he shows up to get the guest list from Jamie, bribes him and everything, and then Jamie makes a smart move with the drugs, stashing the drugs and stuff, and then we see the police coming and raid the whole place. So that was a really interesting move from Jamie. But where do you think this is all going to lead, and what will happen next?
Well, I mean, from what I recall, one of the guys said, "Oh, well, this isn't over." I mean, I don't think that this particular feud with these club guys is over just yet. I mean, it could be for the time being, for this season at least. But I just feel like these guys are still in the picture for the most part. Cantos, you shut them down this time. You're building a rivalry with these people, and I have to believe that that's always going to be there in the backdrop. Now, the whole situation with Karen Bassett is that now Ghost has to put on a very important party to impress her, and what I'm going to say is this. I think we already talked about this in previous episodes. I think something is going to happen to the club next week because it seems to be building towards that. Again, we allude to the fact that Ghost has the club as his means of getting out of the drug game, or that's what his goal was going to be. But I kind of feel like that's something is going to happen with that next week with that club because it's just there's too many things going on the outside. Obviously, these club goer guys are not really a threat right now for what we know. But, it seems like there's too many other things that could happen. And, of course, Cantos is still in the picture. I mean, this guy didn't get arrested with them. So what's to say he can't still try and do something against Ghost. I mean, we have to see how that pans out. But I know as long as that guy is in the picture, is always going to be a problem one way or another, sooner or later.
Yep. I mean, we still got, you know, that dialogue with Andre and his friend from the hood who, you know, he wants to do something with the club, like, you know, and I mean, so many things can happen at this point. I think we're going to see Jamie completely lose the club, to be honest, like, because then that would force him back into the drug game, and that would make things a lot more interesting moving forward.
And you know, just to add on to what you just said, that will also be a situation where, so just imagine this: Jamie is forced back into the drug game, and now Tommy is the one that's in charge. Yeah. That would be a very interesting dynamic at that point, because I don't know if he's gonna be cool with letting Tommy call all the shots. So that seems like where it's headed, though.
Yeah, I really think that could be what happens, to be honest, because they're really setting Tommy up. They're building him up like he's going to be that dude who runs it. So, you know, I really think that's, you know, a situation we're going to see happen. And that would definitely make things more interesting. I mean, you know, we don't know what's going to happen with Milan yet, but, you know, and then you got Kanan as well, who's on standby, and he actively said, look, I'm not messing with this drug shit until Milan is gone. Like, you know, until so I mean, if even Kanan doesn't want no parts of Milan, so it's gonna get really interesting. I think Milan has to die, though.
Yeah, I was just about to say. So that you think that means that he's gonna be gone after this episode, so that the next season it'll be the or nothing but chaos between Kanan, Tommy, and Ghost.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be like you said. I think, you know, Milan will die in the finale, and I think Tommy will be running the drug game, and Jamie will be forced back in the drug game. And, you know, we're going to see next season, we're probably going to see a lot of tension between Jamie and Tommy as Tommy's running things. And eventually Kanan is going to make himself known again. And then, you know, either Jamie is going to have to, you know, reconcile with Tommy, and they're going to have to get on the same page to try and get rid of Kanan, or maybe Kanan's going to try and manipulate both of them and, you know, get them against each other.
Yeah.
And, you know,
that could happen. That definitely could happen.
Because, I mean, now that Tommy's established that relationship with Andre, I feel like that opens Tommy up to, you know, a conversation with Kanan. So maybe he'll try and manipulate him.
And he already tried to do that the last season, because he was telling him about, this is what they did to me. They you know, how they put Kanan away in jail. So that's already started, and it may continue if, you know, eventually it's going to probably continue. One thing I just want to say once again, I said this on a couple of episodes. I'm going to say it again. Tariq needs to have his ass whooped, because this kid, it's just ridiculous. You know, it's like, you know, I don't really say this as a older man, because I don't really think I'm that old. Yes, I have gray hairs, as people can see, for those that are watching this video. But I just think that it's like, you know, the kid is so ungrateful. Your parents took care of you. They, you know, you were living nice, but now you want to go towards the dark side. And I think that, you know, obviously you say you don't know any better, obviously. You know, Ghost was out of the picture, so you just completely lost all trust in hope of having a relationship with him. I think that's going to definitely break Ghost's heart once he does find out that Tariq is now that he has been involved with Kanan to that extent. But I just feel like this kid should know better, not to just trust strangers, not to just get into their cars and drink whatever cup that they were drinking from. Oh, what is this? Let me try this. What is wrong with this kid? So that's unfortunate, but it's definitely going to be heartbreaking for Ghost as a father to see this when it all comes to light. And that is something I think is also going to be saved for the finale as well, because it will get the viewers thinking, well, how is Ghost going to respond to this? Mm-hmm. So I have to see how that turns out.
So do you think do you think Jamie is gonna find out about Kanan, that he's still alive in the finale?
Yeah. I think It's been a whole season since their last confrontation. The finale will be exactly, the equivalent. This is the last episode of the season, so I think he will definitely find out in next week. Oh, Kanan is still alive, and to make matters worse, he's messing around with my son. So I think he's going to find out about that, and that's going to make a very interesting dynamic. Now, just another thing for him to deal with, in addition to the stuff that you already mentioned about him possibly losing the club and having to worry about Tommy being in charge.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I think that's going to happen. One thing I did want to say, what do you think now? If we were to give predictions as to how the season will end, whether it's people who die, certain stuff, what would your predictions be beyond what you've already mentioned about the club and the other stuff?
What about everything overall, or?
Yeah. How do you think everything will play out in the final episode of the season?
Man, it's really hard to predict because these writers, man, they're so talented. But yeah, I mean, just a lot of what we've been saying already. I think Milan's definitely going to go out at the finale. It just makes sense because at the moment there's like so much going on. There's too many characters, and I feel like there needs to be kind of a conclusion with the whole Milan thing. So I definitely feel like Milan's gonna die. I feel like Tommy's gonna he's gonna
succeed him.
Yeah, succeed him. I think Tommy's definitely going to be the mastermind in killing Milan and taking over the business. And then, he's going to be the new badass in town, basically, like the kingpin. And, Jamie, like we said, I think Jamie's definitely going to lose the club. Either it's going to get robbed, and then, Karen won't want to do business. And then, Jamie will be forced to resign and, give up the club because, he let all this stuff happen or whatever. And obviously, if he doesn't have the club, he doesn't have a front, and he's going to be forced back into the drug game because he has nothing else after that. So, and then, he's going to have to be subordinate to Tommy. And then with the investigation and, the whole Angela stuff, the task force, I think, like you said earlier, I think because Greg, he's too like inquisitive. Like he needs to sit his ass down. He needs to chill. Like he needs to chill out. Like he's really doing too much right now. So I think he's gonna keep following Sandoval around, and Sandoval's gonna notice him. And like you said, Sandoval might end up killing him because Sandoval's ready to do whatever it takes to not get discovered at this point. Like I feel like he'll sacrifice anybody who gets in the way, like of him clearing his name or whatever, and making sure that he's not found out. So we could see. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no. Yeah, no. I was just gonna say, yeah. I was gonna add on a bit of that to what you said, because now you also have Angela that is in this investigation. So I could see a situation where Sandoval does succeed in killing Greg. Angela gets to the scene of the crime, but she gets there, and then by the time she gets there, she somehow gets too close to where everything is going down, so they have to bring her in for questioning because they think that she is behind it. Because you got to remember something, she still has the phone, so they could very easily say, they take to hold her back. Wait, hold on, what's this phone? That will go right back to her. That's one of the things that, to me, that this phone is valuable information. But you bring it everywhere. I understand that, but you got to be very careful with that, because as soon as that phone gets found, that links right back to, oh, this person, all these calls. It's not good for her to have that phone. So I feel like she will definitely get caught up in that if that's what happens. But I also want to throw a bit of a wild card out there. And now let me go ahead and say,
I've got a wild card too, but you go first.
Okay, so let me go ahead and say this. I know that this is, for the most part, a very dramatic show. There's a lot of action and stuff like that. But you definitely want people talking about certain things that are happening in the show. And I'm going to go ahead and say this. I would not be surprised if in the finale, we find out that Angela's pregnant. Because think about this. The fact that she slept with ghosts all these times, and now you're starting to sleep with this other cat, Greg, I don't think it's completely out of the question for her to all of a sudden realize, oh, she may be having a baby. And then she doesn't know who the father is. Now, let me go ahead and say right now, I don't want that to happen because I've seen enough Jerry Springer, and that show is absolutely ridiculous. But I'm not going to rule it out because she's made herself very vulnerable. Having sex with all these people, anything can happen with that, and that's just how it goes down. So that would be my wild card, is that is going to happen, and then it's going to be a situation where, who was the father?
We're going to see him on the Maury show trying to find out who's the father. Like,
oh yeah, but
the DNA test.
Oh yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, I'm not the father. Yeah. But I think that is a possibility. And the reason why I say that also is because go back to earlier in the season, how she had so much trauma trying to deal with the kids. I feel that was a foreshadowing of what you could see later, why she doesn't have a kid, and just how much fear she had in trying to deal with Ghost's kids. So I don't think it's out of the question for her to end up pregnant. But again, I don't want them to go that route because I feel like, we've seen enough controversial TV to know, all right, yeah, that's kind of played out. But I could definitely see that happening because just how free she was to just, you sleep with Ghost and then you're sleeping with Greg. Come on now, there's going to be consequences from that one way or another. But how about you? What's your wild cards?
First of all, let me say that would definitely bring a lot. It would add a lot of drama to the show, next season. So that would be real. That would be a good plot twist if that happens. But the wild card I thought of while you were just talking is okay. I'm gonna paint the whole picture. So maybe Angela, she makes a few calls and stuff like that to see if she can try and track the signal of the other phone, that the phone that she tried to text and stuff, like to see who has that other phone. So maybe she tries to get some kind of technology where she can trace the signal when she makes the call to the other line or whatever. And then in the midst of all this, maybe Sandoval actually reaches out to Jamie. Like, I'm not quite sure what the reason would be, but if Sandoval was doing some kind of dirt with Lobos, maybe there's a reason there of why he would want to get back into it, or maybe he just wants to talk to St. Patrick or figure out how he can clear his name or whatever. So maybe Sandoval actually sets up a meeting with Jamie to talk to him and clear stuff, clear everything up, to make sure that Jamie won't tell Angela or something like that. So maybe he wants to meet with Jamie, and while this is happening, maybe Greg is following Sandoval, and maybe he goes into the location or whatever, and they see him, and maybe Sandoval shoots him and kills him. And at the same time, Angela's tracing the signal. She follows the signal, and she makes a call to Sandoval and he picks up or something, and she traces it and she goes to the location as well, and she sees Jamie leaving. And then later on, after Jamie and Sandoval have left, she finds Greg's body, and maybe she thinks Jamie killed Greg.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then the whole of next season she'll be going after Jamie. Maybe
that could definitely happen, because as we said earlier in this show, she's already very vulnerable in this situation. She thinks she can trust Greg, but the whole thing is that he's playing her, and that would be quite the twist, because she would never find out the truth about Greg, that he was playing her or using her. Because this guy will be dead. She'll be mourning over him, and then now she's like even more of a reason to hate Ghost, because Ghost keeps saying, "I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it." So that could definitely happen. Something to really further let her know he is the enemy, even though clearly in this instance he wouldn't be the enemy. But that would be interesting. But I'm gonna go ahead and say this now. I'm sure that the actor that plays Sandoval is a great guy, but they need to catch this guy. They need to catch this rat. Put him in a trap, lock his ass up. Because that guy is, he caused a lot of issues this season. I don't like seeing the bad guys get away with stuff, so he needs to get caught.
Yeah. Eventually, I definitely see him getting either caught or killed. Like Anthony said last week, he's either going to get clipped or caught. One of those. So.
Yeah, that needs to happen.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of interesting possibilities of what can happen, man. I'm really interested. Like, is the finale going to be an hour? Because I feel like it needs to be like 90 minutes to 2 hours or something like that. Because
I think it's going to probably be the same length. Yeah, the hour. Well, for us, about 57 minutes. The 3 minutes of commercials you don't see. It definitely feel like it should be 90 minutes. A little bit longer, but they're going to obviously leave a lot on the table. And then, of course, we have the agonizing wait to next year to see what happens next. But, I still think the finale will end with a bang because, I mean, there's a lot that you have to resolve. If Milan does get killed, like you said, well, yeah, that'll be one way to wrap up that storyline. And now we can focus on the issue of Tommy because, as you said, yeah, this whole season they've been building up Tommy, preparing himself for another role. So I'll be very interested to see how they handle this situation. But I'm looking forward to the finale. Only thing that I would criticize Starz, I don't like the fact that they took a break in between when they took that break. I mean, if they were going to take a break, maybe that should have happened towards the middle of the season. I mean, because you take a break and now we're coming back and there's 2 episodes. I mean, I think, that's a little ridiculous. You might as well just take the break after episode 5 and then have the remaining 5 episodes. But they said, nah, we're not going to do that. So, but with that said, glad the show was finally back. I'll be sad to see it go next week, but I look forward to watching a great show.
For sure, man. That wait is going to be way too long. It's going to hurt, man. It's going to hurt waiting for season 4, man. I can't believe season 4 already. Damn, yeah, it's been a wild ride, man. These 3 seasons.
Yes, it has. Look forward to what's coming next with this show. I mean, I'm very glad it got renewed for 2 more seasons. So definitely, if the writers able to keep the audience on their toes like they are, I think this show could definitely last for as long as they need it to last. But we'll see what happens in the finale. I'm definitely looking forward to it, though.
Yeah, man, it's gonna hurt me that the finale's only gonna be an hour, man. Because it's so there's so much that needs to happen. It's how are you gonna fit it all into 1 hour? I feel like they should give us 90 minutes at least.
Well, hey, some stuff might get cut. Maybe Milan gets shot right after the credits. Right after big rich town. Yeah, right after the credits, Milan, bam, dead. Something like that. They're gonna have to be very deliberate in trying to speed up some stuff, because again, certain storylines. I don't think certain storylines shouldn't be lingering into the next season. Like the investigation, that probably should end this season, but it probably won't end this season. But the Milan situation also should end this season, unless they're going to start off the new season with Milan getting killed. But I don't know. But what I say is they're definitely going to have to improvise some stuff. I just hope that they don't rush it and it's sloppily rushed, like they had the episode this season where they did rush some stuff, or the writing felt rushed. I hope they don't do that extent. So maybe 90 minutes would have been better. But we have to trust that they know what they're doing, and they will be able to get a lot out and done within the hour. So we'll have to see how that's handled.
For sure. Okay, so before we get to our ratings of episode 9, let me ask one last question. So at the end of season 2, we had that final scene. It was very Marvel-like. It was like one of the Marvel end credit scenes and stuff where they find out Kanan escaped the building and stuff. That was like the last scene that we saw in season 2. So do you think we're going to get another scene like that in this season, at the end of this season? And what do you think it could possibly be if we do?
Okay, here's what I'm going to say. If I had to make a guess, are we going to get a Marvel scene? I think we are going to get a scene to build anticipation. Well, I would say this. The scene could simply be Jukebox shows up in town, ready to help, Kanan fulfill his ultimate plan. Because again, this is a character that they introduced this season. We haven't seen them for a while. So I think that, a lot of people love the character. They love the actress. I think if you definitely want to get people watching next season, introduce this character, reintroduce this character at the end of the season and let them know, well, they are now in the vicinity and they are willing to help Kanan do what he has to do to restore everything he used to have. I think that right there, man, people will be so excited when they see that. They'd be like, oh, and then it's going to make the wait even more painful. But I think if they do have a scene, it's going to be something like that. I don't know what else it could be, because it has to be like a quick thing, like a glimpse or something. But how about you answer the same question? What do you think it would be?
I think it would be to paint the picture, maybe throughout the whole episode, Tasha is, she's complaining to Jamie about Tariq because Tariq's attitude has really gotten bad and stuff, and he's not coming home and yada, yada, yada. So the final scene would be, Tariq after school sometime, he gets in a car with Kanan. Kanan hands him some lean or something, maybe some drugs, maybe some harder drugs. He might have graduated to the harder stuff by this point. Who knows? And then, the car pulls off and then, the camera pans and we see Jamie in a car, like, a few blocks, well, a block down or whatever, looking like, so this is the moment where he knows that Kanan is back.
Ah, man, okay, I got to give you a round of applause for that one. Yes, they could do that. They could definitely do that. Because it's going to be a very shocking moment once it does happen. That's a great idea, man. I think, and listen, I'll be totally fine with that happening, even more so than the jukebox thing, because they've been building to that also. And we need to see that happen at some point. But it's going to be interesting to see. But I definitely want to see Jukebox again at some point.
Jukebox and the other lady as well. Like, I feel like, because they built those characters up really well. So, like, I feel like, we deserve to see them again at some point. So.
Yeah, maybe they won't be in the finale, but I think it'll be kind of interesting if they aren't in the finale, since you don't want people to totally forget about those characters. Yeah. So we have to see, but I really like that idea of him seeing that Tariq is, that's gonna be a heartbreaker for him, but it is coming, so we got to be prepared for that.
Yeah, for real. Okay, so let's get to our official ratings for this episode. What's your rating for episode 9?
All right, so I'm gonna have to say, man, I want to say a 4.5. There was quite a bit of development that happened in this episode. All the little stuff. I don't want to say a 5 because I think next week may be a 5. But I think it was definitely. I didn't really see any real issues with the episode. Everything flowed the way, and then the way that they keep you guessing as to who you can really trust, that is just very well done writing all across the board. So definitely one of the better episodes this season, and it makes me very anxious to see what is going to happen in the finale.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of echo you and say a 4. I definitely feel like, the finale has the potential to be like an amazing episode, like, the best of the best kind of thing. So I'm saving that 5 for that episode, because this episode really sets up the finale as well. So, I think I'm just going to cap it off at a 4 for now for this episode.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to that finale, but it's going to hurt when it ends.
Yeah, it is, without a doubt. I would like to thank Starz for allowing us to have this experience of being able to review these episodes, giving us a bit of early access to do so. We definitely appreciate that, and we'll definitely give a much more longer thanks next week, as this will be the last episode until next season. But definitely thankful for the opportunity, and it's great to talk about the show.
Sure, man. Shouts to all the people listening as well, all the people in the comments, man. For real, like, we appreciate all the comments you guys leave.
Absolutely. And I I also would like to, if we are able to catch any of you, I would like to extend the offer to you guys to, if you ever want to be on a show, say we did a show where we talk about what we think is going to happen next season. I think we could definitely open that up to you guys as well. If you're interested, just let us know in the comments and we'll try to work something out.
Yeah, that goes for you, Nelly Mac, and Fat Girl.
Yes,
you guys for
absolutely.
sure. Yeah, and since next week is the finale, we're probably going to try and bring Anthony back on the show as well, just so we got a lot more thoughts and opinions going around. But
Absolutely.
yeah, until then, for now, we're going to say peace out and see you guys next week.
Peace.